Okay, so you guys were busting a move, not dancing, but running out of the House of Knowledge.
Why not both?
And it could be both. And you were headed down to Brunch, down at Baker Street. It's a pretty, I'm not going to say it's like a straight shot, but from the House of Knowledge, you guys can basically kind of cut across sort of one of the parks that has like a little path that goes through it, the Greenway it's called. Cutting through that, pretty straight shot up until the market, which gets a bit more crowded, especially as it's nearing brunch and well, it's a little past brunch, I guess, but noontime, there's a lot of people all over. And then eventually you guys make your way into Baker Street, which you can kind of, you just immediately notice because it goes from a lot of like open stalls and there's a lot of people kind of hawking whatever goods that they got to like if you guys have ever walked by like a bakery and like a Costco or something, you know, that there's that change in smell, especially as you go by. Like the smell of like freshly baked goods, like desserts, all that kind of stuff kind of like fills the air as you guys walk down the kind of cobbled street that kind of runs east of the Whitestone Market. Now, despite it being called Baker Street, it's got all kinds of stuff in it. There's a lot of little outdoor areas for you guys to eat, with a couple like makeshift stalls and you know, there are other stores that have like big glass displays, all kinds of food in here that you could, anything you could look for, whether it's like fresh produce or some sort of baked good or meats of any kind, whatever you're looking for, you could probably find it somewhere around here.
Jason, it is 9 a.m. just so you know. Which doesn't matter at all unless like you were gonna have a bomb go off at 12:30. We have a little bit more time.
Okay. That's important to know. That's not important to know. So you guys head towards the place where you're supposed to meet them, of which I've now forgot the name of. I gave it a name. Does anyone remember the name? You'll get credit if you do.
Did give a name. I don't have the notes for it.
You don't have the notes.
So like
for it?
I either forgot or it never happened. Because I was going to ask you what the name is.
Tea time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had it someplace. There was a place. Yes, there it is. It's in my notes. Tea time.
I would take my extra credit in the form of level 9, please.
Nice.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll see about that. You'll get it eventually, along with everybody else.
Yes.
Well-deserved extra credit.
I think I thought Tea Time was the name of the thing we were doing. I didn't realize that was the name of the restaurant. Okay,
that
Tea
was the
Time.
name of the adventure.
Tea Time.
Yeah, so you guys find, you head to the place labeled Tea Time, which for those of you who are illiterate is hard to do, but for those of you that are literate, it's very easy to find. We're not going to name any names in particular. Yeah. So you, essentially, Myro, you can spot the woman that you had bumped into the night before. Lady Rena. She is there. She has this kind of white and yellow kind of little dress, little get up, a little, you know, it's very, she's kind of got like a little hat on with it. And she is seated with a man, a rather fancy looking man. He's maybe in his, I don't know, mid to late 30s or something. His hair is very like cleanly kind of waxed, dark hair. He's got a little thin mustache and very, very well kept. He isn't in like a full like suit that you'd sort of like wear to the opera or anything, but he's certainly a little bit better dressed than a lot of the other people that run about the market. And you can see that the two of them are seated at a table at the small little cafe at tea time. And it's got a number of kind of tables outside of it. And they're kind of seated at one that's maybe a little distance away from some of the others. And there's not a lot of people around it or anything like that. And they're just gossiping. You can see they're already chit-chatting, having a conversation of some kind. And there is already tea and seems to be some sort of breads, a bunch of stuff at the table that they're at already. So I assume you're going to approach them. Do you want to approach them in any particular way?
I'm going to approach them and bow deeply, and say, I apologize for my tardiness. We were just at the House of Knowledge, and it's truly a wonderful place. I lost track of time. You'll have to forgive me. And I've brought some companions with me today. And then she'll kind of gesture for them to introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'd like to step forward immediately and just wave up both of my hands and go, "Hi, I'm Kestrel, and I came for food and to learn about art. Nice to meet you."
And then Rosalind will sort of, not nearly as deep of a bow, just a very slight one, sort of like dip the head and say, "Rosalind, Myra was so excited last night, I also couldn't help but jump at the opportunity. Though to be clear, not interested in freeloading, happy to contribute to whatever cost the brunch may incur, especially if we were not invited, so I don't want to be impolite. Just wanted to be clear up front."
And the two of them seem to be in good spirits about the whole thing. The woman, Rena, goes, "Oh, it's no problem at all. Come, sit, and your friends too. All are welcome. You know, we can't dish all the gossip if it's just us as usual." And the guy that's there, he goes, "Oh yes, of course, and don't worry a thing about the cost. It's all covered, of course. Come, sit. You must try the cakes, of course." And they sort of welcome you guys to come and sit. And there are seats there. There are plenty of seats. I don't know. Do you guys want to sit? They're seated like kind of next to each other. I don't know if you guys want to sit in any particular order. Or, yeah.
I'm just gonna sit on the other side of my room.
Yeah, I'll probably just sit like across from the two of them. So,
Okay.
And if Kestrel wants to sit next to me, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kestrel, do you want to sit on the Rena side or the Reginald side?
Oh god, I'm probably a Rena side, I guess. I don't know. Where's the closest place to the cakes? Because I'd like to pick one up with my hands, like an animal, and stuff it in my face. So.
The Rena side is closer.
Okay,
to the
cool.
cakes. Yeah.
Good to know.
It's one of those things, right? Like the towers with all the pastries on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's got a lot of stuff on it. Yeah.
Kestrel sits next to Rena because of all the cakes.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm hungry now.
I don't know what cake is.
How late are they?
Are you asking the omniscient like timekeeper, or are you asking?
No, I'm asking
Rena.
I mean you, I guess.
Same.
He's not there.
Yeah, like so they left at 9. Brunch was at 9. How long does it take to get from the House of Knowledge to the?
That's a fair question. They're like 15
Ooh,
minutes late.
That is
not
late.
bad.
Fashionably late.
Sean, you fucking if you're 15 minutes late to a thing, you're like, I'm on time.
He's on
15
time.
minutes. All right, cool.
Sure.
So, Lady Rena introduces herself. She goes, "Well, I am Lady Rena Ballancourt, and this here Sir Reginald Pinza." And he goes, "A pleasure to meet all of you. Yes. I just had to meet this new friend that Rena met the other night. When she told me about you, oh, so intriguing, this group you've met." And Rena's like, "Oh, yes. And I didn't even know of her friends. So tell me about all of yourselves. What brings you here to Lighthaven?"
I'm also thinking how to navigate this question.
Kestrel's double fisting cakes.
I pick up a cake with my hands because I don't know what silverware is, and I would like to just stuff it into my mouth. And I'm like, I came to learn. I like to. What House of Knowledge? Really cool there. Lots of things. Yeah.
There's a lot of cake. Now, there are different colored cakes on the platter. So, do you have, like, a preference? Are you looking for cakes?
Is there a red one?
There is a red one.
I would like the red one.
Okay. It is like a red velvet cake. It's some
Okay.
sort of, like, small red velvet. Yeah.
And Myra will like lean over at one point and say, "So, like this is the silverware that you can use. Like privately, not so that everyone can hear, but just like give her a couple pointers of like, yeah. Like,
Can you show me how?
Yeah, and then she'll say, follow my lead, and Myra will like take a cake and then use her little fork and knife and kind of walk her through it a little bit.
All right.
As you're giving your little thing, even Rena gives a little like, oh, so kind. Oh.
No, cute.
I love that. I'm trying really hard. It's like Beauty and the Beast, and I'm the Beast, and I'm trying to cut this cake. Like shaky hands and stuff.
Using the wrong side of the knife. You're
keeps
over here
falling over off of my fork.
Now make a Dex plus Dex check.
Ooh.
Or else fling cake all over.
Yeah. Knock over all of
And then regarding her question, I think Myra's already kind of answered that. I think at their first meeting.
I mean, she kind of did. I mean, but
she kind of did.
She's just effectively asking because Reginald has never met you, and or the rest of you. So we're just sort of redoing introductions. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's totally fair. Myra will keep it short and. We'll say, I've been traveling for a few months because of the quest that the Kitsune all embark on, and along the way, I met my lovely companions here, and we've been traveling together ever since.
And Reginald goes, "Oh, yes, it's so rare to meet a Kitsune these days. This journey that you go on... do tell about it. I've only heard whispers here and there."
Myra will nod. She's pretty excited to talk about this journey because it's like super important. So she'll kind of give him the rundown of the different kind of principles or tenets of beauty that they are, kind of meant to search for in the world, and that it can be anything, and she'll like rattle off some examples of what that might look like and kind of what it means for her culture and for the Kitsunes when they do master it. And she's like kind of rambling very excitedly about it, and she'll mention that it's not something all Kitsune do, and then she'll say, my sister left a few months before I did, and now I'm hoping to follow in her footsteps and feel closer to her and my culture as well. So
okay. And Rena kind of pops in as you're explaining a lot of it, and is sort of like, and so that was why you were at the opera the other night, yes?
And Myra will nod and say, yes, it was. I try to explore every new town or city that I go to see what the offerings are and see what they view as beautiful in the world and see if it aligns.
And Reginald gives a very proud. He's like, "Oh, well, our showings have been very good, but what did you think of it? And be honest. Let me know what you thought of the whole production, top to bottom."
She will. She has nothing but positive things to say about it. She'll say that she thought the production was absolutely stunning. The acting and the performances were incredibly well done, and that the story was just so beautiful and very touching, and it made her cry. It was so good.
Okay. And he will turn to Rosalind and Kestrel and be like, "And your companions, were the two of you able to see it?"
Kestrel's gonna say, "Oh, no, but Myru told me a little bit about it. Said, it was good, and they were, it's like story, but with people, and they're doing it. And I think there was a cool guy. Yeah."
And he nods. He's definitely getting a feeling for where you're at in the artistic knowledge circle here.
Cool guy. Okay.
Yeah.
He is a cool guy, to be fair.
She's not wrong.
Yeah.
But he does look to Rosalind to see if Rosalind has any input.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it either, but Myru had such good things to say about it that when the opportunity to meet at least some other people who were tapped into the art scene came up, it seemed like a nice chance to tag along and learn more so that I won't miss such opportunities in the future.
And he kind of, he definitely seems to take notice of just sort of your overall vibe and goes, and where exactly, where are you from, my dear? You're not from Lighthaven, no?
No, New Keslov, so the theater I'm accustomed to is a little bit more violent and less performative.
And he kind of gives a hesitant, but sort of like, yes, I thought as much, given your overall attire. Very interesting. I have had the opportunity to visit New Keslov and see some of the performances there. There is a certain amount of visceralness in the way that they hold their productions. Very true, very true. But I would encourage you, of course, you must see what we do here. It may not have the same level of, it may feel a bit artistic, given what you're used to, but I assure you, our narratives are just as strong.
What I'm used to is beautiful in its own way, but admittedly, it's not for everybody. And that's why it's a nice opportunity for me to expand my horizons a bit. I've read fantastic stories, but to see them brought to life on the stage, something new for me.
And, he's like, oh, well, that is why we do it, of course. To bring that moment of being somewhere else there for everyone to share. Oh, and Rena gives him a truly. And he's like, yes, of course. And what of you, my dear? Where are you from? He asks Kestrel.
The forest?
And he there's a moment of like he's kind of waiting to see if you say like which forest, and then he's like,
hold on. She remembers from the book that she was reading, and not reading, but like looking at the map and stuff with like the Wonderlust woods. She's like, the Wonderlust woods. She just kind of pulls that one out because she remembers it from earlier.
Okay. And he goes, well, of course. What other woods? Yes. I take it you're not very familiar with these sorts of productions.
No. My grandfather Usir is very good at telling stories, though. So have our own art, you could say, just different.
And he gives a firm nod. He goes, a strong oral tradition is the backbone of any such production. And Rena gives it's very quaint. Oh, very, yes, wonderful. They kind of sit about, they grab some tea and they're sort of grabbing a couple things. Rena sort of inquires after they've had a couple snacks. Rosalind, I guess I should ask, have you decided to partake in any of the food, or
why, Jason? Because it's poisoned?
No.
Yeah, Roz is here for cakes. Maybe not quite as enthusiastically as Kestrel is, so she'll be content with maybe one to start and not like double fisting them. But she's taking part.
Okay. Do you have a particular like flavor or like color of cake? It's not like they're labeled, but like if you are familiar with cakes, you could probably guess which ones are what for some.
She wants a blue one.
A blue one. Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
There's a blue one.
Blue's the best.
We're opposites.
Full of antioxidants.
Civil
Blood
War
feud continues.
Blood feud.
There better be a purple one for me.
Different colored cakes.
That's true. Every great battle comes down to
Steve
red
has the robot arm, so that makes him Bucky, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Jason, I hate to do this. Is there the silverware is shiny? It's like actual silverware.
Yeah.
Can I
It's
pocket
getting
one?
swiped. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Make a dex.
Well, just
Probably.
Okay.
just to be clear, Kestrel, are you trying to be
I don't know what
sneaky?
stealing is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or-
Not really.
Oh, okay. Well, you definitely don't need to make the roll if you're just gonna
Yeah.
just take one and put it in your pocket.
Which one are you going for?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
the
my
fork.
God. You know,
We get-
I think I really like the. Do they? No, there's no spork. That's crazy.
There is no sport.
legit
at
This is a
this
proper
point.
brunch,
I
goddammit.
do want a fork. You know,
Fork.
I discovered what forks do. I'm eating something with a fork. I want to take it home
Yeah.
with me.
It's got a Little
Yeah.
Mermaid situation happening right now.
Right.
Yeah,
with-
it's a
especially with the
doohickey.
fork,
You
yeah.
know.
A dingle hopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's definitely a bit of a like they notice because you're not hiding it. But like they don't say anything. I don't. It's unclear if they care about this establishment's silverware.
Interesting.
Well, in that case,
Take the entire
pick up a
two
chair
tray.
and leave with it.
The whole table.
yeah, the table. Yeah, this table's great. I love one of these. And so Rena, she does. She turns to you, Myro, and she's like, "So you mentioned your sister in this journey of yours. So how far have you come? What sort of things have you seen?"
Myru will say that. Well, I can only speak for my portion of the journey. Tana left before I did, so I don't know where she decided to go in terms of her destinations, but ever since coming to the mainland, I've been traveling west. And Jason, I don't have a list off the top of my head of where she would have specifically gone, but so I don't have to include that here.
You don't, but if you want to name some, you can. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know the map.
That's fine. But I mean, Rena's sort of inquiring, like, well, so have you ever been in a production yourself?
Oh, probably. She'll say the Kitsune do a lot of like musical performances back home, so she can play some of the different instruments, like the taiko drum and there was a stringed instrument that we brought up a couple sessions ago that I don't remember which one it was now, but she can play some instruments and they would do performances back home. So she's definitely familiar with the stage and dances and different things like that. Not so much like plays per se.
Okay. And Reginald throws in like he's like, oh, so talented. Of course, it's amazing what your people can do. Are you open to the idea? Are you looking for work? Perhaps we can always use more talented artists at the Do Light.
Maru chuckles and say, well, perhaps if I come back around, I could be open to that. The journey naturally requires that we, we don't stay in one place for too long. The goal is to keep moving and traveling always.
And Brenna sort of throws in how do you know what to look for? What are you searching for in this journey? Is it just anything or is it something in particular?
Myra thinks about that one and says, well, we have our tenets, our principles of things to search for in the world that might match, but there's no one thing that works for all. It's different. It's all in the eyes of the beholder. So
that gets a nod from the two of them of like, oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
And Rena kind of looks at the other two of you and is like, and are the two of you helping her do that as well?
Kestrel nods enthusiastically. She's like, "Oh, yeah, we found a special book at the library to help her learn more about previous journeys. Yes. Life experiences."
And she nods. She goes, "Well, you can find almost anything at the House of Knowledge. I've certainly found my fair share of thrilling little tales here and there."
Ooh.
And Reginald gives a little. I think they're talking about different kinds of stories, my dear.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Spicy books.
Not allowed to talk to a child that way. Just kidding.
Whoa. I'm cool.
That's true.
And
Physically, yes.
Yes.
and Reginald kind of throws in like but it's so good to see a group of companions together, of course, and on a journey like that. Oh, it's been so long. Well, months, I suppose. This new production has required that I stay here far longer than I usually prefer. I'm much more of a traveler at heart. I love to see the different productions all over the country. What do you call the Empire? The Empire. But my duty calls, and of course somebody has to wrangle all these artists here at the Dewlight to ensure that they get things done on time, of course. And at this point, like a kind of a waiter shows up and kind of like does a little refill on all the tea and kind of asks if anybody would want anything in particular.
Another fork.
Well, I have a question.
Anybody request?
Kestrel,
Yeah.
how have you
What?
approached the tea yet? Because,
I haven't approached the tea. I don't know what tea is.
okay.
I'm going to look up to the waiter and be like, "Oh, what is tea?"
And there's like they maybe they don't seem particularly surprised by this question. Like you might think that like well, why are you here? But they seem to be very like professional and polite, and like you've asked a question and this is what they sell. And the waitress is just like, "Oh, well, you see, we take a number of leaves and we put them in water, and the flavor of the leaves soaks into the water, and each kind of leaf bestows a unique flavor to the water itself. It's truly amazing. If you'd like, I can get you some of our more beginner level teas."
And she nods, obviously, and she's like, "Oh, yes, please. I want to try."
And there's a moment of like kind of looking to Reginald and Rena, who are obviously the ones that got the table, and they both nod as like, "Sure." And the waitress goes, I'll be back shortly," and she kind of walks off. Is there? But before she walks off, does anybody else want to like order anything or?
What's on the menu? Is there a
No, mine is
special
good
for
with
today?
Fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Dip it in
Oh,
the tea.
legendary fried
It pairs
chicken.
well with Earl Grey
The
tea.
brunch staple.
Yeah,
Especially with
tea
the
time.
red tea.
Famous for its fried
Earl
chicken.
Yeah.
Grey sweet cakes and fried chicken.
There's
With
chicken
gravy.
and waffles. It totally works.
Gravy. Oh my god.
Okay. So, nothing then. I don't know if
Not yet. Maybe
Okay.
later.
Well, so they kind of get back to their kind of, as the waitress leaves, their sort of basic discussions. Rena starts inquiring about some woman, Isabel, and Reginald starts talking about like they're kind of talking around the issue, so it's hard to know exactly what they're talking about. But this is clearly some piece of drama that like they're privy to. And he kind of talks about like, oh, well, she settled down, of course. It was all talk, and you know how she is. She just likes to hear herself, yammer about. Always says that, it has to be done her way, but of course, it's going to be done my way. And Rena's like, well, of course. And, they kind of chit-chat. Is there anything that you guys want to like discuss with them in particular? Like, there's certainly room in their sort of yammering for like you guys to bring stuff up or whatever.
Jason, I can't remember. I was trying to find my notes about this when Myru talked to Rena before, if she brought up her sister directly, like asking her if she maybe saw her pass through. I don't remember, unfortunately. But I was thinking I could bring that to them.
You want to ask them just sort of like if they've seen Tana, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Do you just sort of ask them like, oh, have you ever seen another Kitsune? Or how do you phrase, or, do you ask specifically for someone named Tana, or what do you
And Michaela, really quick, I want to know, are you like impatiently interjecting of like, God, like, I'm sick of hearing about Isabel, or do you politely...
I wait for just the slightest pause, and as soon as there is one, I will jump in with my question.
Right.
Of like, well, actually, there is something I'd like to ask you both. I've actually put my journey on pause recently because I've been trying to find my sister, Tana. Have you happened to see another Kitsune, maybe traveling through these parts, or heard any rumors?
And Lady Rena gives oh, no, sorry, my dear. You are the first one I've seen in, well, probably ever. There was this one gal once, but I think she was just pretending. I think she was just a regular foxfolk. And Reginald goes, well, you are being a bit more well-traveled, of course, and gets a little bit of a glare from Rena. But he goes, I have met some of your kind before, but I have not had the pleasure of meeting one of you in recent times. Your sister's... wait, did you give her name a second ago? No.
Mm-hmm. Tana.
How do you
Yeah.
spell it?
Tana.
Is
Yeah.
it T-A-N-A?
Tana?
Yeah.
Yeah.
T-A-N-N-A.
Oh,
Mhm.
N-N-A.
Mm-hmm.
My bad.
N-N-A. Mm-hmm. No, you're good.
And
Oh, shoot.
he goes, but I cannot say that I've had the honor of meeting Tana before. You're the most, you're the Kitsune of, I'm butchering the sentence. You're the most recent Kitsune I've had the honor of meeting. Your kind are not exactly the most common, after all. No offense or anything like that.
No offense taken. Myru knows that she's kind of a, that the Kitsune are kind of a rare breed on the mainland, so she'll just nod and say, oh, no offense at all, but thank you for letting me know. How long ago did you meet a previous Kitsune, if you don't mind me asking?
And he thinks back, and he goes, oh, it must have been 2 years ago, perhaps. I was at one of the Imperial galas that they throw. Which production was it? I believe it was one of their musicals. Number of your folk had come from your island and were doing something of a production there in the capital. I'll admit I was maybe a bit tipsy that night, but there were certainly a number of them, and I certainly recall speaking to one or two of you in the crowd, in the after party, of course. But I can't say I recall any of your names. Apologies, but meeting the talent is always an honor, but I meet so many these days.
She'll just nod.
Yeah, and Rana kind of throws in a like, well, maybe you did meet this Tana then. And he goes, maybe, perhaps I did, but I wouldn't have remembered, unfortunately.
Do I remember what he is talking about? Like what I have known about this production 2 years ago?
I would say so. I would say that you were probably, you're still probably in your studies to some degree. But like, yeah, probably. I guess it's kind of up to you. I mean, in theory, you could have been a part of it. But I'm going to leave that one up to you if you think you were. But yeah, at least you would be aware that your village isn't exactly huge. And if like a production were to leave to go to the capital, and perform there, you would probably know about it.
Okay.
Given just how kind of closely knit the artists are amongst your people.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think if that's the case, I think it's probably fair. She was probably still in her studies at that point and wouldn't have participated, but she probably would know who did.
Okay. Which would more than likely mean that Tana was also studying with you at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she would not have been there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. So, they sort of give you their condolences and whatnot. I don't know, Rosalind, Kestrel, did you guys have questions for these guys? While there's a bit of an awkward, oops, sorry, I don't remember your people's names.
I was gonna say, all these Kitsune look alike. Is what Reginald.
Yeah, exactly.
Reginald.
I don't need to know the names of the help.
Yeah, exactly.
Kestrel's probably going to be like, you have lots of stories here, right? The play that like Myru saw. Do you have any other stories? I know it is important to Myru. Maybe you tell more. I just know, like, my grandfather, very good storyteller, I think is a good way to share.
And he goes, oh, well, of course, we have a number of productions. There's a great many stories. I fear perhaps I would not be able to do these stories justice. However, and he kind of looks to Rena, and she kind of gives him like a bit of like a shrug, like, I don't know how to describe this. And he goes, well, I'm not so much a storyteller myself, my dear. Think of me as somebody who helps the storytellers tell the story. Here in Lighthaven, it's not one person who tells the story. It's a team of people, a group, and every person plays a role in it. And getting that many people together and having each one of them learn their role and the parts that they play, and there's a lot more to it, of course. I suppose you haven't seen one of our productions, but suffice to say that our sets are phenomenal. By sets, I mean that we have a large stage, and we don't just use words to show the scenes that they happen. We use painted backdrops and wonderful props to show where the characters are, to help the people in the audience, the listener of the story, to feel transported into the story like they're there themselves. And all of that takes a lot of work itself. So I'm not so much the storyteller as I'm someone that helps the storytellers tell the story. It's a lot of work, I assure you, but certainly worth it. And nothing against what your grandfather does. I'm sure he's very good at it.
It's very complicated.
He also dug himself a hole when he didn't need to. Oh, not to say your grandpa sucks at story. I'm sure he's great.
Notes or, given a synopsis, like, geez, okay.
I'm sure the quality's great for the Boondocks.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, so he's like Michael Bay, like he's a director, but he doesn't. But no, he's actually like stage manager, right? Rather than the director of the plays.
He is not. I mean, yeah. It's not like you know him personally, but like he's sort of like an administrator of the theater itself.
Okay.
So like he is not the guy like directing or orchestrating necessarily. Like he'd be part of like hiring directors for a particular play, actually, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Roz would chime in at a certain point then, once that seems to have wrapped, and say, so the two of you are clearly well connected. You have a refined palate. You're tapped into the who's who and the what's what of Lighthaven. And she's kind of, hamming it up a bit to butter him up a little bit.
It's working.
Yeah.
Let's
so
just be fair.
between just the two of you and maybe some of the other people in your circles, have you heard of anybody having any troubles within Lighthaven recently? To be clear, as we're going around, we're doing our best to also help others in need as we go through each particular port of call. So I was just wondering, since the two of you are clearly so well connected, if you had heard anything, whether it was above board or below, about people in trouble or in need of assistance, or just something off kilter happening in Lighthaven.
And the two of them sort of, they kind of, I mean, they look at each other. It's almost like they're trying to, figure out which of their interesting stories maybe, you could be referring to. And Rena goes, well, there has been that recent closing of the cathedral. And Reginald goes, true, that was quite a stir. A number of people, especially the beast folk, have been very much unhappy about the whole situation. A bunch of impromptu renovations, they say, closed the whole thing down. No more services to any of the gods. It was quite a big scandal at the time. I mean, I don't attend myself, but, for a lot of people here in the city, it's quite an ordeal. And Rena gives a bit of a nod. She goes, a number of my friends, very good beast folk, they were very unhappy about the whole thing. And Reginald nods, and he goes, yes, that's certainly been one of the more interesting things. Well, and he kind of he's like, there's also been a bit of a, there's been rumors that there's a bunch of, and he kind of looks to Rena, and she goes, ne'er-do-wells? And he kind of shrugs and goes, a lot of the, and I don't mean to, put this on anybody, but rumors have said that a lot of the gods have gone around and been rounding up the white tiger folk that have been walking around. A number of them served as mercenaries and bodyguards here in the city, and, well, now they're all gone. No one's quite sure what happened with that. And Rena goes, there used to be this one, very dashing. Yes, he's gone now too. Worked there all the time. She doesn't say where. And Reginald goes, yes, but that's perhaps some of the more interesting bits. Were you looking to learn anything in particular?
If you don't mind my asking, where does that white tiger folk work, or did work?
And she sort of blushes a little bit, and she's like, well, there are a couple of establishments that I frequent that are, maybe for people of a particular, they cater to those looking for services that not everybody may provide
Brothel.
all the time.
Tiger brothel. Tiger brothel.
Those thick necks.
Gigolo.
And she goes, and they like to cater to a number of individuals of many kinds, many types, and so one of them was working as a bodyguard, very fit, very strong fellow. Yes.
And if you don't mind, it's my first time in the city, but what is the name of said establishment?
And she sort of does well.
If one were to be interested in stopping by for certain needs as well.
The horny tiger.
Oh no. Oh no.
And
That's why everybody's giving me weird looks in this town.
Oh no.
They want to know how much you're packing.
And she goes, there is a place down in gosh, I'm trying to think how much is she willing to say potentially publicly out here in the open. Let's see here.
Myra will get a napkin and slide it across the table if she would like to write it down instead of saying it out loud.
That's good. That's good. That'll probably work pretty well.
But before she can write it down, Kestrel steals the napkin.
What's this?
And then while she's doing this, she would like to also ask about the cathedral a little bit more too, while this is kind of happening.
Okay. What do you ask about the cathedral? She sort of I guess let's see, where's she gonna get a pen?
She's a lady. She has a pen. She's a proper lady.
I guess, you know what, you're right. She's a proper,
Whatever that means.
a proper lady that has what, a pen and an inkwell on her.
Of
There's a
course,
feather.
Yeah.
got to be able to sign autographs at any time.
You know what? There.
I got a feather right here for you to use if you need it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a feather right here. No.
Oh my god.
So what was the name, Jason, of the she asked a new question, but I just want to make sure I write down what she writes on the
I haven't given the name yet. She's writing it down on a napkin, and she's gonna slide it on over to Rosalind. That hadn't happened.
Oh, okay.
Yet. She's writing it down. She's getting the pen. She's writing it down. But I want to know, what's the question about the cathedral?
Myra's just curious about when these renovations started and if they know anything about what caused them to be needed. Sense, like, was there an accident or just out of nowhere they just shut it down for trying to figure out what led to that.
Okay. Okay. You ask your question. Rena kind of slips the napkin across the table over to Rosalind. Do you check it now?
Yes, immediately.
Okay.
Mhm.
Immediately. In fact, you yell it
Says
out
the name
loud.
out loud.
Yeah. And so it is let's see, would she be able to, I wonder how she'd phrase this. So it's God. So it's called the Rosian Heat is what it's called. And
The Rosian
but
heat. Interesting.
Sorry, no. Rosian is in like
heat.
Right.
How do you spell
Huh?
that?
Okay.
No. Okay, so let's see. This Rhazian, Rosian. It's as in like the Rosgul,
Like
the Rosgul desert.
Yeah.
Yes, like the desert. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So the heat of the desert. Where they may often wear very light clothing because it's so hot. That's not quite how that works, but it certainly does in a place like this. She would list it as being. She'd probably just give you like 2 crossroads, if that makes sense. Because I could describe this to you where it is on the map, but how would she describe it? Because she's trying to be very discreet.
Yeah, probably crossroads.
We're gonna say,
Yeah.
Huh?
Probably crossroads. I think you're right.
Yeah. So, and I don't know that I know every single crossroad in this in this place. Let's call it 6th Street and I don't know, Redstone Way or something like that. That sounds good. Which, if you are not familiar with Lighthaven, you may not be able to find that if you're not sure. But if you were to hand that to Gunnulf, probably.
Gunnulf knows very well where this place
has
is.
been there a lot. He's a regular.
Gunnulf's got a part-time job.
Yeah. I simply mean Gunnulf would be familiar with. With the
Wink,
the
wink.
streets of Lighthaven. Yeah. But hey, what Gunnulf does in his spare time, that's up to Gunnulf.
Yeah.
Him and his brother.
She'll leave it there. She just wants to be able to follow up with Albus if necessary. So that's enough information where she can stop putting the screws to this poor woman.
Yeah, she definitely has turned a new shade of sort of red as you've asked all of this. You don't know this, but at least Myru does know that she is ostensibly a married woman. So but yes. So you asked about the cathedral, and Reginald gives you. He's like, well, I'd have to say it started perhaps, I don't know, a week or 2 ago, something like that. They the city guard came in, they locked the doors, closed everything up, and they've not let anybody in since. Posted the sign on the front and everything. I can't say I'm entirely certain what's, what the whole ordeal is. I certainly wasn't aware of any renovations that were happening, and I mean, not to brag, but I am rather keyed in to a number of the larger establishments and people that would be... Well, we've done a number of renovations on the Dew Light ourselves, and there are only so many people that you could ask to do such things. To my knowledge, there are no such renovations, but perhaps they're going for something a bit more unique or outside of here in Lighthaven. I can't say I know, but the whole thing has been rather odd, I must admit.
Could you tell us where that's located?
The cathedral?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Oh, yeah, certainly. It's just down. I mean, he'd just give you the like it's basically down the main thoroughfare, basically. What would that be? It's west. Well, you just head west down towards Sunstop Station, and well, you can't miss it. It's and he kind of even tries to look over some of like the buildings, and he goes, "Well, you can't see it from here, but you won't miss it, I assure you."
Well, thank you very much. That is helpful.
Did any of you guys notice it? No, it wasn't you guys.
It was Sharp
It
and
was,
Albus.
yeah, Albus and I.
Yeah, this is why we have to ask these questions, because we don't know.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have time to talk about it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Brunch was to be had.
He then kind of asks, he's like, "Well," he goes, Is the cathedral important to you, my dear? You've mentioned your artistic skill. I take it you're... are you a servant of your people's god?
I think that's a yes, right, Jason? Like, in a manner of speaking, we are kind of like priestesses, shrine maidens, that sort of thing. Okay, so Myra will nod and say, yes, you could say I have some ties to the gods. Much of our training involves priestess and shrine maiden duties before we set out on our journey. So I certainly have familiarity and experience in such things.
And he goes, "Oh," and he goes, "Well, of course. I didn't mean to pry or anything. It's just." Do you find that these sorts of things are important with your people? The arts and whatnot? The few times I've met your people, they are always so artistically inclined. I guess this question's a bit vague, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she'll nod and say, our people are very much artistically inclined, but for those of us who must master the blue flames, and she'll actually kind of gesture to the circlet that she's wearing.
Okay.
It's you could say it's a bit more of a religious experience. We are serving our god in a manner of speaking, the goddess of beauty, I believe, Jason.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That we are in her service, so it's a combined I don't know, emphasis. It's not the word I want, but anyway, basically that of the arts and our sort of shrine duties are intertwined. They're mixed together. It's not just the arts, it's not just religion. It's sort of a combined thing, is how she will try to describe it.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that that's pretty accurate.
Cool.
And he's just like, "Oh, well, it's so rare to meet a follower of the goddess of beauty, and her expressions, I believe, is the term that your people use. Like I said, I have met a couple of your kind. A lot of it went over my head a bit, but it's so good to see that people of your caliber are still, well, doing well, I suppose, especially these days. What with all the tragedies and all that, so many masters of the arts gone before their time. And Rena gives this sort of like sad nod, you know, like and he's just like, first it was, you know, Mako and Ayo, and I hear Master Yoshi has died as well. And Rena gives like a bit of a surprise. You of course, I don't know if you, Michaela, recognize, but Master Yoshi is the one that you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that, and I think she talked about it with Rena last time. So at the that was, I think it was mentioned. And Myru will just say, "Yes, truly, what a loss. I just can't believe it. These attacks on these masters, it's truly unheard of."
And he goes, "Oh, indeed. To think that somebody might be targeting all of these visionaries is truly unsettling." Rena sort of gives well, I had heard that Lady Ayo died in some sort of terrible accident. I'd only had the honor of seeing one of her exhibitions once, but her word work was truly beautiful. She had a way of capturing natural forms that was just, it was like seeing a moment in time immortalized in wood, truly unlike anything else. And Reginald kind of gives her like, Rena, my dear, someone has been feeding you hearsay and lies. Well, not the part about her woodwork, that part is true. It is truly one of a kind, but no, her death was no accident, my dear. Hadn't you heard? And Rena gives a, no? Do tell? And he's like, well, she had locked herself away for months, right? Working on some new exhibit that she claimed would be a new masterpiece, a tribute to the goddess of beauty, she said. A true vision of the 9 expressions. I think that's how many there are, yes? Anyway, it was meant to be her magnum opus. Only... And at this point, he kind of leans in, he's sort of being a bit, a little bit hush-hush about a little drama here. But Myru, you hear another voice, a whisper in your ear, but not in your ear, in your mind.
Okay.
And the voice says, only it was more beautiful than she could have ever imagined. And the voice isn't Reginald's voice, and it's not Rena's voice, it's not Rosalind's voice, or Kestrel's voice. It is a voice, though, that you would never mistake for anybody else's, because it's the voice of your sister, Tana.
Oh, okay.
And Reginald continues, and he goes, well, the night, when the night came for her big exhibition, and they kind of threw open the doors and they invited everybody in, well, she was right there, all right, her and her art, only it wasn't exactly the kind of reception she'd been hoping she'd get. And Rena kind of gives like a, how so? And he goes, well, for one, they arrested her right there on the spot, kicked everyone out, and then the Inquisition came and burned the entire exhibit and building that it was in to the ground. And Rena gives a, they burned it. And Tana speaks once more to you, Myru. But her voice is a little less of a whisper now, almost as though she is sort of like there at the table, speaking to you. They burn what they fear, Myru. They fear the truth. And Reginald continues. He's like, well, I wasn't there, sadly. I'd gotten a terrible case of food poisoning the night before while I was attending a show of Pierre Gustave's In the Rain I Cry. Beautiful show. Cried like a child. Anyway, yes, Lady Ayo's exhibit, from what I hear, the theme of the exhibit was a celebration of life and death, with exquisitely carved celebrants that were dancing and playing and fighting and he kind of looks to Kestrel, but then looks to the rest of you and fucking and, well, all the best parts of a proper celebration, you know. Only, and he kind of looks about the plaza, and you guys are kind of alone. And there's a lot of people walking about doing their business, and you know, there are other people at some of the other tables and whatnot. He goes, only they weren't just wooden sculptures. And Myru, at this point, you find yourself sort of oddly transfixed upon his words as he's explaining this. It's almost like a, I wouldn't necessarily say a spell, but like a song that you kind of like can't help but kind of close your eyes and listen to. Only you can't close your eyes. In fact, you kind of can't seem to turn away. But it's not Reginald that kind of commands your attention, but the image of Tana, who is standing across the table from you, sort of right behind Reginald and Rena. Clear as day. No one else seems to see her, yet there she is, spitting image of her, of you, and she looks stronger, maybe, or wilder. It takes you a moment to kind of recognize that she looks more free. She looks untethered by anxiety or concern. And what's more, kind of flitting from behind her is not one, but two foxtails, which is proof that she has grown closer to the goddess of beauty. Rosalind and Kestrel, I need both of you to roll me an insight and insight check, please.
I'll roll you an insight and an insight check.
Oh,
in my mind, am I able to speak to Tana while this is happening? Can I call out to her? Is there any sort of
in this moment? Not quite.
Okay.
It's sort of all happening kind of fluidly, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you're
that's
kind of
How's a 5 and a 4 sound?
Well, you have a Fabula point if.
You guys may want to consider
2 1s.
seeing if you can roll a little bit higher.
I'm good.
Okay. Kestrel?
I'll let it ride.
You're gonna let it ride?
You're both gonna let it ride.
Kestrel's got pastries and tea in front of her. She's good.
Oh, God.
No, maybe I should spend my Fabula point. I only got the 1, so I'm scared. What if I need it for something else?
We'll get it back.
You know?
Not in this.
Okay.
It's fine. We're just gonna have like a massive boss fight soon. It's no big deal.
Fucking spent my Fabula
Wait, did we get another
point.
Fabula point?
Okay, now.
Yeah.
If you had
That's
0,
what-
yes.
Again.
That's why they have 1.
Okay. So we should all
And
get
both of
one.
my dice numbers suck, so.
Only if you
I'm
have
gonna do it
0.
again. What?
Yeah.
No. Like you.
That's a 1 and a 3. Which
Cool, thanks for making me do that.
A 1 and a 4.
You suck.
Whoa, nobody made you do anything now.
You made me do it. I felt it in my mind's eye.
Okay.
Sorry, we got a Fabula point.
Yeah, the dice have spoken.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
needs to play out.
Yeah, we
Except
saved
for the
it.
part where we
Okay,
lost.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I thought
So Reginald continues. He says, well, Lady Io had flayed the skin from her attendants and used it to make, well, lifelike dancers for her exhibit. She'd even taken some of their organs and shoved them into rib cages made of wood and the like, like eyeballs wedged into wooden skulls, that sort of thing. And Rena, who's listening to this, is just sort of like, oh, by the Empress. And
Cool.
Myru, you hear Tana say, no, by the goddess. And Reginald continues. He doesn't hear her. Obviously, she'd lost her mind in pursuit of her work. They say she was just standing there in the middle of the exhibit, naked, covered in well, the blood and the bits and all the sort of things that she'd done. Tragic, really. Obviously, not the sort of thing that the Empire can tolerate. Not sure they needed to burn the entire building down, but I mean, better safe than sorry, I suppose. Still, and he sort of seems to let the words kind of hang in the air. And Myru, it's sort of at this point that you sort of feel this creeping curiosity kind of well up inside of you. A series of questions that you can't help but sort of ask yourself as like the images of the story that he's presented you, as they're conjured forth in your mind. What would such an exhibit look like? How could such a thing ever actually honor your goddess?
Mm-hmm.
And like, whose skin would look better stretched over a wooden skull? Rosalind's, perhaps? Maybe Kestrel's?
Oh, God.
Tana has her own input. My vote would be this posh woman here. But, in truth, Myru, there's only one way to know. You must
Such a cheery
mind.
I love the music
theme
that we have going on right now.
You must open your mind. Ask the hard questions. Seek the truth at any cost. A coward will never know true beauty, sister. And as you follow Tana's gaze, it goes down to one of the bread knives that's sitting on the table. Take the first step. Make your first masterpiece. Join me, and we can seek true beauty together. So I suppose the question, Myru, is, will you join Tana, and will you open yourself up to the truth?
Myru takes a moment. I'm assuming she still can't really call out to her at this point.
If there's something that you want in this moment, it's sort of Reginald has sort of done telling his story.
Yeah.
And as much as the words that he was giving are sort of like they sort of seem to sort of root around in your head as it was, which is almost kind of what seemed to like transfix you here. Now that he's stopped and there's a bit of this sort of awkward silence hanging in the air as he's done telling his story, you find yourself able to articulate your thoughts a little bit better. So if there is something that you wanted to direct towards Tana, you could.
Okay. I think, Fox pupils are naturally pretty slit anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're gonna slit even more as she looks at her and says, is this the truth that you discovered, sister, on your travels? Is this the beauty that you found? This honors our goddess?
And she nods and motions kind of back at the two tails that kind of flit about. And she goes, is this not proof, sister? Our goddess has shown me things that I never thought possible. Truths to the way of the world. I didn't know until Master Yoshi showed me. And now I can show you.
Myru just stares and says, I want to see. If it brings me closer to you and our goddess, I want to see.
And Tana nods and she goes, you will, sister, you will. Simply do what must be done. Make a masterpiece of your own, and all will become clear. And at this point, Kestrel, you suddenly realize, and this is unfortunately you didn't roll high enough earlier to notice some of this.
Still just
A lovely brunch.
Are you gonna finish that?
Yeah, you got all this like cake, you know. Or, no,
shit.
you suddenly recognize it almost sort of like hits you this sort of like pressure, like how would I describe this? So it's almost like there was this like feeling of like anxiety or like it's almost more like a fear, like almost like that, like a sickening feeling of anticipation, and you hadn't realized it was there. The cakes, the story, the atmosphere, it had all distracted you. But as he finishes telling you this story, it's sort of like this it's almost like you're kind of turning around and realizing, oh, wait, something's not quite right. And it's almost like this like that kind of feeling that that you might have if like you heard footsteps of like some unknown thing kind of like outside your house, or like if you were, say, camping in the woods and there was something outside, noises you didn't, recognize. There's this like something nearby, like something lurking, something sort of waiting to pounce or trying to like get in. And it's in this moment, as you recognize this sort of pressure, that you then recognize that it's gone, it's absent. There's almost this like emotional silence that kind of kicks in, and it's sort of what wakes you up to the presence of the pressure itself. And you recognize this uncomfortable silence as basically whatever was there, whatever was lurking or trying to find its way in, is now inside. Someone has effectively opened the door and let this in. And as you look around the table, you check you're just scanning left and right, and as your eyes meet with Myru's, you get a shiver down your spine and your heart sinks, because from out behind her once kind and beautiful eyes now radiates the unmistakable gaze of curiosity. And Rosalind, at this point, you also can feel a bit of a change in the air. You are maybe not the most magically inclined, but you are very familiar with certain forms of magic. And that aside, you can recognize that the circlet that sits upon Myru's head, around it, amongst the fur on her head, you can see that there's sort of this sort of thin, sort of spreading kind of trickle of blood now that sort of seems to sort of spread from it. Myru, there is work to be done and art to be made. And the image of Tana is standing firmly there still in your mind in front of you, and she's watching eagerly and waiting to be made proud. How would you like to proceed?
I'm gonna reach for the nearest like butter knife.
Bread knife.
Bread
I thought it was a butter knife too. I was like, holy shit.
I only know because I was going to make a joke of, at least it's not a butter knife.
And then she said butter knife.
I'm sure she could probably still do some work
reach
with
for
it.
a bread knife.
Use a spoon.
Kind of slowly, still keeping eye contact with Tana as I slowly reach for the bread knife.
Okay.
Can I immediately reach forward and grab her hand? I know what's there. And try to prevent her from picking it up.
Both of you can make opposed dex and dex rolls if you'd like.
Okay.
Can I assist in this capacity? I don't think I'm first to the finish here because she knows what's going on better than Roz does, but I've at least recognized enough that can I assist this check?
You can. Yeah. So you got to beat the difficulty level of 10 to add +2 to Kestrel.
All right. At least I can roll on the computer now since I have another monitor. That's nice. It doesn't really matter what this is. Let's call it anticipate. Sure.
And as this is happening, as I try to grab her hand, I look into Myru's eyes, but I'm not looking into Myru's eyes. I'm looking past them to the presence I see possessing them. And I say, let her go.
Okay. Well, I'm going to need... What? Michaela. Make me a Dex and Dex.
Dex and Dex.
I rolled a 10, by the way.
You got it.
Okay, so it's a +1.
Yeah, which is
+2.
going to make it a...
It should be a plus... I think it's a +2.
Okay. Oh my god!
Oh, I got doubles.
Okay.
Critted?
Well, it's a double 5. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
It doesn't mean anything, and gosh, if it's contested, who wins? Do you guys have to beat it? Or
Well,
do you have to
it's a 8 because
Yeah.
Maya rolled a 5 and a 1, and she has no Fabula points left.
I
This
have
is
no
true.
Fabula points.
That's true.
So it's an 8 versus a 10.
Yeah. Okay. So, you reach out, Kestrel. You're trying to beat her to the knife. You do not beat her to the knife. Myru, you're under the knife. And Kestrel, as much as you want to reach out, the moment is you're not fast enough on the draw here.
Okay.
So Myru, you now have
I have the knife?
You have the knife. You have the knife. It's yours. You can do whatever you want with it.
It's a flare. I apologize to poor Rena in advance. As a character, she's gonna stab her hand.
You're gonna stab Rena's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Make me like. I'm gonna say like just make like an attack roll.
Okay.
You can use your weapons. We won't use the weapons damage, but you can use the accuracy for them if you want.
Sure.
It's probably like Dex and Strength or something like that. Or
Yeah.
Dex and Insight.
Did I do it right?
With the
I
accuracy
used the-
bonus.
Yeah.
So she rolled an 8 and a 2 plus 2. So
Okay.
for a total of 12 to attack.
Okay. So yeah, you are a practiced dancer. You're good at what you do. With a nice, smooth, fluid motion, boom, bread knife right through her hand into the table. There's a moment where like Rena has not registered what has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just sort of like she's just sort of there. She's just like she's got she's just like, oh my goodness, and then like it's just like boom, and she doesn't even recognize what's happened in this moment. At this point, we're entering, I assume, combat. So
Nice. Brunch combat, yes.
Steve,
So, yeah,
meanwhile, says to Albus, I hope their brunch is going well.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Well,
so there's not really a need for initiative because you guys should just sort of have an automatic order here. But that said, so Myru, you should gain, let's say, let's put it this way. Take a Fabula point. All of you are going to take a Fabula point here. Let's put it
because
that
we're
way.
introducing a villain, and its name is Myru.
Yep.
All of the ones that
Every
are
character.
Yeah, just them.
okay.
Just that, yeah.
So Myru, Kestrel, Rob.
Actually, no, everybody should.
Oh.
If a villain shows up in the story, everybody should get it.
Hey, I like that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if
Thanks,
a
Myru.
villain shows up, it's 2 Fabula points.
You might be right.
If that's what
Am
we're
I-
doing here, again, that's your call. But
That is what we're doing. So if I have mistaken how many Fabula points it is, then yes, it should be 2.
Sorry, do I get those points as well, or no?
You do.
It's a fair question.
We're going to say that you do. Yeah, we're going to say that you do.
Or do you get Ultima points?
Oh.
Yeah, so in theory, they should be Ultima points. However, for the time being, until you pass over into my hands, effectively, we're going to just say that they're Fabula points.
Okay.
But they are, the reality is they are Ultima points.
Okay.
And you can spend them in some ways.
Whenever a villain makes an entrance, even if it is a Game Master scene where the players are not present, each player will immediately receive 1 Fabula point.
Okay.
1 Fabula point. Okay.
Oh, there was 2 villains the last time it happened. I see.
Oh, so we just got 1?
1.
Just
Cool.
1.
Just 1.
Okay. Had it come in handy a few minutes ago.
got 1.
Because a villain has been introduced.
Okay.
Fabulous.
And with that, I do believe villains go first. Regular enemies go after you guys, but villains go first. So, Myru, you have the first turn now that you've run a bread knife through Rena's hand, and she has, in this moment, not quite recognized what's happening, but they're certainly she's certainly like, about to recognize and whatnot. So what would you like to do?
In a very quick motion, so I've stabbed her hand first. I want to yank it out and then go for the neck.
Holy
Okay.
shit.
Make me an attack roll.
Okay. We're going all in.
Hell yeah, do it.
Maybe. I think my sheep to cooperate. Okay. Doubles again?
It's a 5/5 plus 2.
Right. But still not a critical success.
No, it's not a critical success.
Correct. Unfortunately, it's not like she has a lot of HP
Right.
here. She's just a fucking woman.
She's a lady. She's a horny lady.
Oh no.
Well, infidelity will be
I'm
punished.
offended by her horniness. I must
It's
eliminate her now.
So, you do a motion that is well practiced. As far as you're a dancer. You are familiar with blades. Yeah, Chris, I don't know if you want to change the music up. But...
Well, are we going to battle or not? Because the battle stuff's on the other overlays. So, like,
I think it's a battle.
It's a battle.
all right, well,
That's
let's have
just
people in
a
small
battle.
cameras.
It's a
Then I'm
battle.
sure
Oh!
it's broken.
broken.
It's fine.
Bum,
So-
bum,
No.
bum, bum.
Thought it was just a brunch. We're trying to.
Not
It
today.
was.
Nah,
It
we're
was.
not
That's
going to show
fine.
over each other. That's not helping. That should do the trick, though.
There we go.
Nice. There we go.